Good evening, Xantar. I'm here now. I'm ready. Hope you're excited. I'm excited. I love this racetrack, actually. I love COTA. I just do. Right, sorry. I just got to do some admin. Okay, well, they probably should have started already, but, you know. We're probably just waiting on the last couple of drivers to join. I don't know. I've been posting my Go Live thing. So, hopefully, now, everybody knows that the Twitch stream is live. And basically, we can just get ready for the last few drivers to jump in. Some familiar names, of course, that we've been watching all season in Tier 2 and commentating on. There's one. Leading the championship. In fact, shall I get some standings for you and let you know exactly how that's going after last week? Lofty Pickle is leading the championship. Had a bad time last week, though. Where were we? We were in Canada for Tier 2? I feel like it was Canada. I'm not sure, though. Could be wrong about that. It was the mystery round, wasn't it? So it could have been anywhere. But Pickle leading the championship currently by 40 points. 134 to Sean in second place with 94. And then a big gap, really, to third place, where Arbon in the Mercedes sits on 66. 10 Car in the Ferrari on 60. I would say Jeff, but it's Golden Egg Fryer, isn't it? On 54 points in fifth place in the Aston Martin. So two Aston Martins actually in the top 5 with Sean and Golden Egg Fryer. So that's pretty cool for their team. But like I say, big slip up really last week for Lofty Pickle in the mystery round. I have no idea how good any of these drivers are or how comfortable they are with the circuit of the Americas, but we're about to find out. Qualifying is about to get underway. If it's half as good as last week's race, it will be a cracker. Last week's race was incredibly exciting, wasn't it? I wasn't able to actually capture all the excitement. There was actually too much excitement to capture, even for even for a commentator of my experience and class. Hello, Blue Dragon. How the hell are you doing? Good evening. Welcome to the United States Grand Prix. It's Tier 2. It's F1 Broke Boys. It's the circuit of the Americas. Maybe top 5 circuits in all of F1. What are we saying about that? That's what I'd say. Quite happily and easily. I love Spa. I mean, I really like Silverstone. Silverstone's like really fun to drive, isn't it? I just don't know if it's a great circuit. I just think COTA has to probably make it. Yeah, top 5. Is that crazy? I probably like some weird ones though as well, you know. I probably like some weird ones. Hungaroring, that probably makes my top 5. Shelby with a Ferrari. I'm not sure exactly who it is. Oh, it's Igor, actually. Very, very close behind him on this outlap. An interesting decision all around. Sorry. Just making sure I have everything available. Before we watch the first lap, it is probably going to be... let me sort all of this stuff out. It's probably going to be Igor setting the first lap of the session then, isn't it? So we'll maybe try and ride on board with the Ferrari as he takes us around the first live lap here in Texas. Who are we expecting good things from? Well, probably Lofty Pickle. Probably Sean. Sean had a bad time of qualifying, I think, also last time out in the mystery round. But one driver of the day, I think, with a recovery drive that went from P17 to P5. Something ridiculous like that. Oh no, that might have been tier 5 actually. I might be getting confused. Anyway, we watch as Igor crosses the start finish line and gets his foot down, ready for the first lap around Texas for tonight. Weather looks okay. A few clouds in the sky, but it doesn't look like anything's going to turn anytime soon. This is maybe my favorite section of the racetrack. It feels like the S's just go on forever, and there's such a nice flow to them, and a pretty good line, really, by Igor, keeping it nice and clean, nice and solid for his first banker lap. I think Arbon is all right here. Okay, we'll watch out for that. Arbon currently, as I said, third in the championship, but a cool 70 points or so off the championship leader, Lofty Pickle, and maybe 30 points behind P2, so there's definitely some parity up at the top of the standings in Tier 2. But behind Arbon, lots of drivers very close. It's like 4 points, 3 points. You know, the gaps are pretty small once you go backwards from third place. Got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Somebody was stopped on the straight, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but I'm not going to pull away from Igor because we want to see what the first lap time is of the session as he rounds the final few corners at the end of Sector 3. And onto the final corner then, not really benefiting from the car in front. It's a 132.1 for Igor, which is immediately eclipsed by Shelby in the RB behind the V car, putting in a 131.9. And we're right at the start of the session, so you would imagine that people are going to be going even quicker than that a little bit later. But look at these lap times, incredibly close so far. We've got other lap times coming in. DJ sets a 132.0, almost a 132 dead, to slot himself into second position. Baha in the Kit Sauber, a 132.0, also just 6 thousandths of a second away from the McLaren. The Klempt, not sure what's going on. A 149. The Klempt will be looking to set another lap, you would have thought. But Agbala Jobs has also now set a lap. It is a 132.4 for him. Okay, who's coming around? Tenkart. Yep, Tenkart on a push lap here, and it looks pretty fast. It is pretty fast. It is by some distance the fastest lap of the session so far. A 131.1 for Igor's teammate, and that is just a nice 0.8 of a second ahead of anybody else. How can you waffle so well in qualifying? Listen, Lemon, there's a lot of things happening. What are you talking about? Look at all these fast race cars driving around a racetrack. I don't really understand. I don't understand the premise of your question. Okay, but thank you for joining us in the chat. Need to base my quality comms on you, mate. This one's for you, mate. Don't worry about that, Lemon. I'm not following any of the action though. That is really my problem. Is pressing the R2 and the L2 buttons. That is really where I suffer. Who's near the end of the lap? Skull Killer. Is Tier 2 getting Skull Killered tonight? Was that? Oh no! Did he invalidate earlier than that? I always forget to check the minimap, but that was definitely an invalidation there. Anyway, so no lap currently for Skull Killer. What about... Is Arbon close? Or is Lofty Pickle... Yeah, Arbon's slightly closer to the end than Lofty Pickle, but I think actually Razor will cross the start-finish line before either of them, so we'll see if he can make a any kind of inroads into that magnificently fast lap from 10 car in the Ferrari. Razor rounds the final corner, coming up to the start finish line, open up the rear wing. Oh wait, he's on an outlap. I'm talking nonsense. He's got 100% battery. Never mind. Arbon set a 132.0 whilst I was doing all that nonsense talking. And also, Lofty Pickle in the McLaren has just put himself on provisional pole position, hoping, of course, for no repeats of last week's, let's be honest, disaster for the championship leader. It's an interesting way to get back to the pits. But a 131.133, it's not that much faster than 10 karts, to be honest. But what is it? About 100th and a half ahead of the Ferrari. So very close between those two so far. And that might be exciting as qualifying continues. Some people are now on outlaps, going to be looking to set some lap times. Is Mel on a push lap? No. Who is? I've never seen this driver before in my life. Who is this? A graduate of the Mercedes Academy, JHRL20. I can tell you one thing for absolute certain. I am not going to be saying that entire name throughout this session. So let's go with JH. Let's continue on with JH. Pretty sure the Irish can always waffle about anything. Not insulting, obviously, just an observation. Thank you, Blue Dragon. You will notice that I don't sound particularly Irish, and indeed, I have never lived in Ireland, but I hold my Irish heritage close and lovingly. JHR then, JH, whatever you want to call him, crosses the start-finish line and does manage to put himself into P10 with a 132.4, so not setting the world on fire, but, you know, not down the bottom of the order. In the intervening time, Verklempt has now managed to set a lap. It is a 132.5 currently for the V-Carb, which is a lot better than the 349 or whatever the hell he set on that first lap, when I think he possibly spun the car on the straight, which was pretty interesting. Is Skullkiller setting a lap? Right, we need to try and find someone who's actually on a lap. Not really sure if the Haas is on a lap. Oh yeah, it seems like. So we'll have a look if Hayes in the Haas. Hayes Haas. Kai? I like Hayes in the Haas way better than Kai, so we're going to call you Hayes in the Haas. Approaching Sector 3, that is a pretty big invalidation, so never mind. This will not be a lap for the Haas driver. 10 kart is, I believe, just starting a fast lap there, so we'll watch that as he... Ooh, and Shelby is invalidated, so pulls it into the pits. Not going to be going any faster. Igor, though, has gone an awful lot faster. I think he's gained around 4 tenths on his previous time with a 131.5. It's still around about 3.5 tenths down on the guys in front. Tenkart and Lofty Pickle have a pretty commanding lead currently at the head of the standings. But that's a big improvement for Igor, and he'll be hoping that he can be challenging around the top half of the grid with his teammate tonight for sure. Baja, though. Baja splits the Ferraris. There it is, the Kick Sauber with an improvement of over 7 tenths of a second. Puts in a 131.2, and that's good enough to put the Kick Sauber up into 3rd position. Only around about a tenth, a little bit over a tenth down on the current fastest cars. I don't think it's really fair to separate Lofty Pickle and 10 Kart yet, because those lap times are so incredibly close together. Let's ride on board, though, with 10 Kart as he approaches the final few corners now. Sector 3. It's looking clean, I guess, so far. There's no hint of an invalidation. Don't get the curse of the commentator. Rounds the final corner. Is this going to be faster? We'll certainly hope so. And it looks faster. First driver to break into the 130s, a 130.8 for 10 car in the Ferrari. And that's a pretty big improvement, to be honest. Throwing down the gauntlet to Lofty Pickle. What is that? It's like 3 tenths up. 3/10 up on Pickle, something like that. Pretty strong. Pickle is just about starting his fast lap now. Is that an Aston Martin I can see? It looks like it is, and Sean is currently improving. I think that was 2/10 up on his previous time. Approaching the final corner, rounds it, and crosses the start-finish line with a 1:31.9. It is a minor improvement, but it is good enough to get him P7 for the time being. Why can't I see? Oh, I can see now. There's just too many yellow flags, but there's around about 6 minutes to go in this qualifying session. So I would think that means most drivers are going to get the opportunity to set one more lap. It's a very long lap around Texas. You don't really get much opportunity to like set the 4 laps that you can set on some of these shorter circuits. So basically everyone will probably have one more go to set a really fast lap, and that's going to be important for the likes of Hayes in the Haas, Mel, Infinity, and Perez, who are actually yet to set a fast lap. There's a huge row of cars. Look at this. From just behind where Arbon is, Arbon does just about improve and slots himself into P6. All of those cars coming in behind. I think some of them may have been on outlaps and other different things, but Shelby is just about to set, or start, I should say, a flyer. Is Hayes coming up to the end? He is, but he's on an outlap, and it doesn't matter about the invalidation. Anyway, is that Perez behind? No. There is an Aston Martin behind, though. It's going to be Sean pulling it into the pits. We have I believe, oh, and it's invalidated for Verklempt. Oh, we just saw him straight off the track, but it seemed like a purple sector 2. I think it might have been a purple sector 2 for Verklempt, and then straight into an invalidation. So the question is he going to pull the car into the pits here, put a fresh set of tyres on? You would think so, right? I think there is enough time to go around again and set another lap. Yeah, there's absolutely enough time. So heartbreaking for Verklempt. It was maybe going to be a very, very fast lap. But in the end, has to just settle for trying one more time. Razor is currently 6.5 tenths up on his fastest time as he enters Sector 3. Look at all of these cars behind, though. Why are there so many cars close together? Razor wants to be up on his time because a 1:32.9 is currently the slowest lap time set by any of the cars that have actually set a lap. So, looking for a pretty big improvement here. How does it look for Razor? It is a pretty big improvement, a 1:31.9. So what is that, like a second improvement? And he's up onto P9, hanging around with the likes of Sean and Shelby. That's pretty prestigious company as this season goes in Tier 2. So, good lap, really, from the Haas. Any of these guys rounding the final few corners, setting a lap? Is it Baha or is it Mel? It's not Mel, which means I assume it was Baha, but he was on an outlap anyway. Igor is on a flyer, so let's ride on board with the Ferrari then. He's approaching the timing line here at the end of Sector 2, so we'll see how he's doing. A 0.125 improvement, so it is ever so slightly faster, but he's going to need a bigger improvement than that if he wants to break into the lap times of the top 3 so far. Potentially, though, with a perfect Sector 3, might be looking at getting himself up to P3. I think Pickle might be slightly too far away now for Igor to really challenge there. We end with a 1:31.2. It is not good enough to beat Baha, who will remain in P3 for the time being. Igor, though, puts a pretty big gap between himself and DJ in 5th with that lap. It's around about 4.5 tenths now between the McLaren and the Ferrari, as DJ adopts an interesting approach to warming up the tyres, or there's just some kind of huge lag things going on. There is a Kick Sauber rounding the final corner, and it was Mel. We just about caught that one. A 1:32.3 for Mel, and I believe that is Mel's first lap of the session. So, not ridiculous, not terrible, but only good enough for P30. Shelby not having any of that. So is that Shelby bidding it on the final lap? Could well be. It could well be. Pickle is on an out lap. Is everybody just on an out lap? Surely Mel is not trying to go again. It seems like Mel might be trying to go again, though, to be honest. Seems like everyone's just on a bit of an out lap. Hopefully they all manage to make it around in time to actually set a lap time. I believe that 10 kart, yeah, is just going around turn 1 now. So 10 kart is definitely on a flyer. Get rid of those caution signs and we can see how long is actually left in the session, but I don't think it's very long at all. It's very slight improvement for 10 kart, the current provisional pole sitter in the Ferrari, but a slight improvement might be good enough because he's already a tenth and a half up on Lofty Pickle behind. So really just probably wants to go ever so slightly faster and hope that Pickle can't do enough to knock him off the top spot. There is a McLaren coming around the track behind 10 kart as well, and I believe that that is DJ. So we'll switch over there once we've watched the Ferrari complete this fast lap. That is a purple Sector 2. And 10 kart is now around about a tenth up on his fastest lap time. Just needs to keep it between the white lines as we go into Sector 3. Final few corners then. I love this sweeping section before the final 2 at the end of the lap. Little lock-up, but it looks fast. Onto the start-finish straight. It is very fast. It's a 1:30.7 for 10 kart, and that is good enough to, well, improve, we should say. It's good enough to improve. Some people have already finished, maybe timed some of their outlaps and things incorrectly. That is an invalidation for DJ. DJ will not be setting another lap time, and it's going to be 6th or worse for the McLaren. How about Lofty Pickle, who has just overtaken his teammate and is... Oh, Lofty Pickle's invalidated as well. So 10 kart really should have pole position probably tied up. Arbon is on a fast lap here. Is he on an improving lap? Let's see. Yes, he is. That is almost half a second up on his best lap time for Arbon, and it slots him into P5. Might be slightly disappointed with that, just because it wasn't too far away from getting even higher up the grid, and with some of the drivers in front having those problems on their final laps, maybe there was an opportunity to make something happen. I don't know what this lap is from Mel, but it's not a fast one. Is this a fast one from Egg Fryer? Well, it was his first lap of the session, and it was good enough to slot him into P9 on the grid. So, qualifying is over. Familiar names, honestly, near the front of the grid. Great qualifying session from Baja, though. I feel like 3rd is pretty good for the Kick Sauber. We can look down the order there then. 10 kart will be starting the race from pole position in the Ferrari, and Lofty Pickle up alongside in the McLaren. Down the rest of the grid, Baja P3, Igor in P4, Arbon is P5, Shelby in P6, DJ takes P7, Verklempt is in 8th, Golden Egg Fryer in 9th, and what kind of a name is that? LXN Nons is starting P10 in the Red Bull. Okay. How many laps is it around Texas? It's not many, is it? It's less than 30 on a 50% race. Don't think it's very many at all. But we saw it in qualifying. You know, fastest lap time was over a minute and a half. So when your lap time's a minute and a half, you're not exactly going to be putting in a million laps around the circuit for the race. 10 kart finished 6th last season at this track. Highest of the grid runners left here. Highest of the grid runners left? I mean, 10 kart, you would think, is going to be hoping for better than 6th this season, just given the fact that he's starting the race from pole position. Just while everything's setting up then, let me have a look for you what time we are expecting to go live with the race. 27, so that's in about 3 minutes. 3 minutes until race time. So once again, just have a look at the standings. In fact, let's have a look at the let's have a look at the standings properly for a moment. Oh, don't do that. So just to clarify and run down the order a little bit, as I mentioned, Lofty Pickle does have a commanding lead at the top of the championship. 40 points to his nearest rival, which is Sean in the Aston Martin, currently in P2. And then you drop another 30 points-ish down to Arbon in P3 in the Mercedes. But then there is like a cluster of cars, isn't there, from P3 down to P6. Batman is not here tonight, by the way, I believe. So Batman will be losing ground on the cars in front. I think all of those cars in front had reasonable qualifying sessions. Maybe the worst of them was, well, I think it's one of the two Aston Martins. I don't really remember saying Sean's name too much, so I'm not sure actually where Sean's starting on the grid. But yeah, all of those cars in front did reasonably well, at least. 10 car is maybe the most likely to put a dent in Lofty Pickle's championship lead, I suppose, but then seeing as Sean's the only driver who's close, you'd imagine that Pickle is going to pull out even more of a lead tonight. Plenty of drivers close together, really, from, what is that, P8 downwards, P7, I guess, downwards. 39 points for Mel, and then all the way down to 14 points for Skullkiller, who's currently in 20th. So, you know, it's exciting here in Tier 2, and we're probably less than 60 seconds now from the start of this race, so I'll get ready. It always likes to surprise me, I feel like. F1 24, we never really know. We never really know when the race is going to begin. We can have a quick look at the race director. Mediums and hards. Nobody's trying anything ridiculous. There's Sean, by the way, down in P12, so yeah. Egg Fryer. Why is Egg Fryer not in an Aston Martin? What am I not understanding? I must be not understanding something. But I'm also not going to look it up. We're going down to 5 red lights for the start of the USA Grand Prix. Away they go, and it's a pretty good start for 10 car, although Baja is making ground and has overtaken Lofty Pickle. But going into turn 1, it is the inside line for Igor in the Ferrari, but the McLaren and the Kick Sauber get him on the outside. The rest of the field, it looks like everybody has at least managed to keep the car on the track for now. It is a wide track, of course, for the start of the American Grand Prix. No huge gains, at least I don't think so. Let's start turning some things on, like, for example, yeah, sure. I want to see position change. There we go. So there have been some reasonable position changes. We'll turn everything on so that we can see exactly what's happening on this first of 28 laps around the Circuit of the Americas. It is a 3-position gain for DJ, so overtaken, what's that, Igor in the Ferrari, and it looks like Arbon and Shelby have had pretty terrible starts there, with Verklempt and Tolu also benefiting. Pulling out wide there, DJ. I'm not sure if that was a defensive tactic or what. Plenty of lockups happening, but a pretty big train. There is a little bit of fighting happening between the Aston Martin of Sean and JHR in the Mercedes, but Sean just about manages to hold position as we go into the final sector. Under a lot of pressure, though, from the Mercedes behind, so we'll keep an eye on that battle as the race continues. 10 car still leads the race, though, as we cross the start-finish line, with Baja in P2 from P3 on the grid, gaining a position over Lofty Pickle on the opening lap of the race. Let's zoom in a little bit closer and see exactly what's happening. No brakes in the DRS train so far. Opening lap gone as many perhaps would have expected and hoped. Although, as I say that, it looks like Skull Killer and Egg Fryer are side by side. Egg Fryer, by the way, has lost a ton of positions on the opening lap. I'm not sure exactly what's happened, but he has lost a ton of positions. And they nearly dropped out of DRS to the cars in front, but there's just so many cars close together that it's going to be relatively easy to keep up, you would think. Although Verklempt, maybe this is the first gap starting to form. Are we going to have a top 5 situation? Because Verklempt is out of DRS range on the cars in front. Let's Tolu go around. Well, nothing he can do really to prevent Tolu going around in the Alpine, who will look to chase down the Ferrari of Igor that's currently sitting in P5. But Baja, by the way, has made a pass for the lead of the Grand Prix. I missed that, but he surely just did it on the main straight with the rear wing open. Tenkart still has 86% left in the battery, so wasn't really trying to defend too much either, to be honest. It looks like it's going to be a close battle then between the top 5 in the opening few laps of this race. We'll turn on the tyres now so that we can see what everyone's actually dealing with. Incredibly, Lofty Pickle is the only one of the top 5 to have started on the hards, so he'll definitely be enjoying the gap forming behind and the ability that he's showing to maintain pace with some of the cars in front. Perhaps we should not have rode on board with Arbon, who very nearly spun the car around T1, but it's a great save, to be honest. Mercedes going very sideways, but at least not spinning. We also saw, just a moment ago, our first time penalty of the night. It's only lap 3, and it went to JHR, Arbon's teammate in the other Mercedes, a 3-second time penalty, and there's another one flashing up on the screen. Agbalajobs in the Red Bull also gets himself a 3-second time penalty, just 3 laps into the Grand Prix. Tenkart not making a move on Baja. Baja burning a lot of battery there to try and maintain the lead of the Grand Prix. Tenkart not really interested in turning the battery on at all for the moment. But Baja's managed to, gain a lot of charge back through the first three or so corners of Sector 3. So maybe just trying to manage everything, hold on to that track position. It seems like if the Ferrari wants to make a move for the lead, he's going to have to force a move for the lead. Although we did see Baja lose a little bit of traction there coming out of the final corner, and Tenkart now pulls up alongside the Ferrari. Does just about manage to get past. I thought he was going to have the inside line, but a lock up for the Ferrari, and a very, very close battle nearly coming together. But both drivers managed to make it out alive, and the Ferrari, Tenkart in the Ferrari, takes the lead of the Grand Prix once more. We do still have a pretty big train for the cars from, what is that, from P7 onwards, but there is a little gap here where Tolu is like a 1.5 seconds down on Igor in P5, doing pretty well, to be honest, to maintain that sort of distance, because the DRS is incredibly strong down this very, very long straight here at Texas. But then he also has a pretty big gap to Shelby behind as well, so a little bit of no man's land currently for Tolu in the Alpine. Lots of position changes, though, happening in front, or at least it certainly feels like it. Igor is now in P4 in the Ferrari. DJ, after a barnstorming start, has to be said, is currently settling for P5, and looks like struggling for traction a little bit there as well, coming out of the corner. These three are incredibly close together, though, and as I mentioned before, really Baja and Tenkart probably would have wanted to pull away by now. That's a pretty big 3-second time penalty, by the way, for Shelby, just flashing up on the screen. But yeah, Baja and Tenkart probably would have wanted to pull away on those medium tyres, but Lofty Pickle not giving them any opportunity to do that. He's making the hards work, and should have a lot of pace from the end of the Grand Prix after, of course, everybody has made their mandatory pit stops. Gap starting to form for DJ. we did mention that it looked like the McLaren was struggling for traction in the final sector of the last lap, and now I think has he maybe just got back into DRS range? No, he's slipping out once again, and I think that was the DRS detection line just there. So will not have DRS now, DJ, going down this long straight. We were talking about a top 5 situation. We might now be looking at a top 4 situation. Tolu in the Alpine is going to have the rear wing open as he gains ground on DJ. A couple more time penalties to tell you about. Mel in the Kick Sauber now has a 3-second time penalty, currently sitting down in 18th position. And we also just saw an overtake happen. In fact, this car's very close together down the middle of the pack, so we'll ride on board with our Valorjobs here, who has just been overtaken by Sean, who came very, very close to the Haas of Hayskai in front also. That is an interesting line by the Haas. I'm not sure if the FIA will care about that one too much, how much time was really gained, but he definitely wasn't on the racetrack for a moment. Sean's getting perilously close to that Haas in front, and it looks like Hayes, of course, will not have the rear wing open, but he does have a pretty solid advantage on Sean behind. So hopefully just make that pay. Huge, did I miss this time penalty? A huge moment. Baha has a 3-second time penalty and currently sitting in P2. Also, nearly a second and a half down on Tenkart, who might be really putting his foot down and trying to take command of the Grand Prix. Disaster has struck them for Baha, but also potentially disaster for Lofty Pickle behind. Pickle really now will want to make the move on Baha here down the long main straight. Baha turning his battery up into hot lap, but it's not good enough to defend against the massive straight line speed of the McLaren with the rear wing open. Pickle will definitely want to push on and make sure that he can stay within a second of Tenkart. But, you know, little bit of a wobble for some of these guys chasing down the man who started the race, pole position, and is currently leading the Grand Prix. Tolu got the move done on DJ. So DJ, really, really good opening lap, and then it all just seems to have fallen apart ever so slightly. And Tolu now is leading the McLaren. Rear wing is open here for DJ. There's a time penalty for Sean, by the way. The time penalties are coming in thick and fast. We're only on lap 7, and we already have, what is that, 5, 6 drivers down the field, all with 3-second time penalties. A full grid tonight, by the way. It's pretty incredible. 20 drivers started the Grand Prix. Hopefully 20 drivers finish it, but all kinds of things can happen between then and now. What's going on at the front? Lofty Pickle is really, really trying to give chase to Tenkart in front, so much so that he's pulling away a little bit from Baha in the Kick Sauber. Baha will have the DRS though down the main straight here. Oh, I say main straight, the longest straight really on this circuit. It certainly feels like it. So Baha gaining on the McLaren, and he'll just have to hope that Lofty Pickle's driving skills manage to keep the pressure on Tenkart, who does probably just about have a tyre advantage, although I'm not sure exactly how long the mediums will last at Texas. And there you have it. Lofty Pickle is back within DRS range of Tenkart. So after a little wobble from Baha really in the opening stint, it looks like we might be back to something feeling vaguely normal, although now Lofty Pickle is actually going to have the rear wing open. There you see it as he chases down Tenkart over the start-finish line, but Baha was not within range to activate his DRS system at the end of lap 7 and the start of lap 8. So the top 2 might well be pulling away now, and Igor will ride on board for a second with the Ferrari as he comes very close to Baha in front, although I think lots of just dirty air and tricky aerodynamic conditions made that first sector a little bit tricky to navigate. There's another 3-second time penalty. This time it goes to Hayes in the Haas. Shelby also just got a move done on DJ. Something is going very wrong in the race. It has to be said for DJ. I mean, not very recently. Still sitting in P6. It's not like it's been a disaster, but such a strong start it felt like for the McLaren. And completely unable to do anything about Tolu in the Alpine, just flying past down the straight. Arbon! There's another 3-second time penalty, this time for the Mercedes driver currently sitting in P3 in the championship, but P9 on track with a 3 seconds. It has to be said, a lot of the drivers behind him also have 3 seconds, but LXN and Razor certainly don't. So if things remain like this, could well be positions gained for some of those drivers. Once again, we see a McLaren drifting way wide off the racetrack. Looks like DJ is really struggling out there at the moment. Does at least have the rear wing open, but verklempt in the V-carb. Manages to take it round. Are we looking at any... Is there any kind of damage happened for DJ? I don't think so. Looks like he's got a full front wing. Just finding it difficult, I guess, to put consistent laps in currently, as we have a ghosted Lofty Pickle at the moment. I'm not sure exactly what that means, if it's a disconnection or what, but it looks like that's not good for Pickle. He's not going to have DRS on the straight to 10 kart, and Baja probably, yeah, Baja does have the rear wing open, so Lofty Pickle could now be under threat from the kick and the Ferrari behind. Well, something pretty awful has happened to the McLaren, and it's given 10 kart the ability to push on and really take charge of the race. Shelby then, on the hard tyres, by the way, it has to be said, has been gaining some ground here. I think we're probably at a point where the hards might be slightly faster than the mediums, just because of the durability of the harder tyre compound. So that might be what's going on. But Shelby does have that 3-second time penalty, and a lot of the cars around don't. Tolu, there we go, the first of the medium runners to pit. Did just 9 laps on the mediums. You would think is going to set a set of hard tyres and take them 18 laps through to the end of the race. We also have JHR in the Mercedes pitting also. So it looks like maybe just the 2 cars pitting on lap 9. The end of lap 9. But you would think then, over the next couple of laps, we'll see many more of those medium runners, I should say, bring it into the pits. Igor is staring down a ghosted McLaren for reasons that we can't fathom. It must be that Pickle... Is there anything in the Discord? Has Pickle disconnected? Not sure. Not sure what's happened. Something has happened to Lofty Pickle, because he's currently in P4. And probably the V-carb behind Shelby is going to start gaining as well if things continue like this. Igor, we currently have a Ferrari 1-2. Look at this. And Baja has a time penalty behind. If Pickle's problems continue, you know, we might end up with, definitely would be the first time this season, wouldn't it? With a Ferrari 1-2 finish. They're gonna have to time the pit stops carefully though, because they're running probably pretty identical strategies at the moment. They've both currently done 10 laps on the medium tyres. There you have it. I mentioned that Shelby was going to catch up in the V-carb. Whatever's happened to Lofty Pickle, we have a V-carb in P5 and a V-carb in P6. I know there's a time penalty for Shelby, but he'll be feeling pretty good about this now that he is close enough to the McLaren to probably, well, definitely you would say, get DRS down the main straight. He almost has to slow down a little bit to make sure that he can remain behind. What else is going on in this race? We have a couple more pitters now, or DJ at least has pit. DJ was finding traction really difficult in some of the opening laps of this race, so probably a good idea to just fit the hards and see if you can go slightly longer than some of the guys in front. Golden Egg Fryer gets himself a 3-second time penalty. Look at all of those time penalties. We are not yet halfway through the United States Grand Prix, and I believe it's over half the field, or is it just about half the field now has 3-second time penalties to their name. Yeah, 10 of the 20 drivers. Look at this, 3 wide coming down the straight, and it is Skull Killer in the Williams without the rear wing open, who just has to back away, and Egg Fryer who gets the move done. I think, was that around the outside for the Alpine? This little battle might end up being exciting for quite a while. I think that's our first 6-second time penalty. I'm just going to have a look. Oh my goodness, no, that's a 9-second time penalty. We've got 6 for Shelby. We've got 6 for Hayes. Maybe let's, well, we'll look at the penalties maybe a little bit later, but that does not look good for Agbala Jobs. 9 seconds is definitely not where you want to be as he brings the Red Bull into the pits. Lots of drivers pitting then. 10 Kart, though, is pulling out an even stronger lead out at the front of the Grand Prix. He will have to pit relatively soon. You would think it might be a case of both Ferrari drivers not wanting to pit at the same time as the other. But really, you know, 10 Kart has the advantage. Leading the Grand Prix, can kind of pit whenever he wants, and then Igor might have to bounce around that. Currently a 3-second gap for the Ferrari behind. So they could do that, couldn't they? They could definitely both pit the same lap with this kind of distance going on and make it around. As we watch Igor get overtaken by Baja on the inside after the straight, manages to hold the inside line for the next corner and pushes the kick Sauber out wide. Is Shelby going to benefit from that? All 3 drivers are in this battle. We'll ride on board with Shelby for a moment as we see him dive down the inside. And the kick and the V-carb almost side by side through the long right-hander in Sector 3. Igor probably wiping some sweat from his brow. There was a little bit of contact there between the V-carb and the kick as we watch Baja in the kick Sauber pull into the pits, and Igor does the same. 10 Kart, though, has taken these medium tyres 12 laps and probably will seek to, well, is certainly seeking to take them one more, but you would think would want to pit soon. Lofty Pickle, I mean, still looks ghosted to me and still looks like having a hard time of it. There you go. Arbon has now closed up on Lofty Pickle, and Arbon was pretty far down the order, to be honest, after not a great start in this race. So things going from bad to worse after a difficult mystery round for the championship leader. McClellan then with the DRS advantage over Arbon. Is he going to be able to close up enough to make a move? He's going to look at it up the inside, and Arbon, yeah, probably not even got the battery open to try and defend that, to be honest. V-carb coming in very, very hot with that straight line speed. 10 Kart, surely we're going to see the race leader, the final medium runner, pull the car into the pits this lap. We'll watch as he approaches the final corner, and there you go, does pull over to the left-hand side of the track and will make his one, and hopefully, he will hope anyway, only pit stop of this race. Fitting the hard tyres, trying to take them to the end. You'll see some drivers overtaking, but a lot of them will have time penalties, and many of them haven't pitted yet. He might even, he's going to come out ahead of Pace. No. Not quite. I guess he'll just hope that he's not in an awful lot of traffic. That would be the ideal sort of a situation for 10 Kart. He's definitely got an advantage, well, just about, on some of the runners behind. But that undercut, the undercut there from Igor and sort of from Tolu, who pitted very, very early. Oh, and Igor just got himself a time penalty. Going through the S's, Igor was really, really pushing. and got himself a 3-second time penalty. That might be race wrapped up already. I mean, it remains to be seen whether 10 Kart's got any warnings and got any things going on. We can kind of look at this, but there's a Ferrari, there's a Ferrari, there's a Ferrari. One warning for 10 Kart. Yeah, one warning so far. So 10 Kart probably in a stronger position as ever, really, to win the race now. Igor does get the move done on Tolu down the main straight. Tolu not even bothering to turn the battery on as he also gets overtaken by Baja, but does have a time penalty advantage currently to the 2 cars in front. So probably is just looking for those guys to chase down 10 Kart a little bit. As I say, that undercut does seem to have slightly gone in Igor's favour, because he's almost within a second now of his teammate. And Tolu in the Alpine is really the man who can probably challenge 10 Kart for the race win. As we watch DJ and Eggfryer approach the final 2 corners, these 2 cars incredibly close together. You would think that down the start-finish straight, the McLaren is going to get the move done. We'll ride on board for a second. Opens up the battery. Rear wing is wide open. There is a Red Bull coming through as well. It is LXN who takes the inside line and also gets the move done on Golden Eggfryer in currently the second best placed of the 2 Alpines out on track. Tolu running a great race so far tonight. Good to see for DJ though, because DJ's not really too far behind the leaders and is probably, given the time penalties and stuff, in in a pretty good spot here. I don't know though, 4.5 seconds DRS on the guys in front. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough to make up some positions. 14 laps currently for everybody who started the race on hards. That is Shelby, Verklempt, Arbon, Razor, Sean, Lofty Pickle, and Ace in the Haas. Probably going to go at least another, well, at least another 4 laps or so, you would think, something like that. DJ, I was just talking about how it might not be a terrible position for the McLaren to be in. DJ ends up with a 3-second time penalty. It's quite easy, even though it's such a wide track, COTA, it's quite easy to get those time penalties, just trying to push the limits around every corner, because the truth is, the limits are often, slightly more forgiving than you anticipate, but then when you lean into that with your driving, it can come back to bite you, as seems to have happened to DJ. A couple of the people who started the race on hards have now pit, and we watch Shelby come out of the pit lane just ahead of this little battle that's going on between LXN and DJ. So Shelby will be enjoying that. How's the penalties looking for the V-Carb? Well, 6 seconds. Not feeling great. But still, he'll be impressed with the advantage. Let's go back to Lofty Pickle. I think this is just like a full disconnect, is it? Certainly seems that way. 10 Kart has already, with a pit stop advantage, caught up to Lofty Pickle. It's hard to see anybody winning this race that is not 10 Kart now, to be honest. But we do see that Baja and Igor are still relatively close behind. They're going to not want to battle too much, and Tolu is going to want them to not battle too much, because Tolu, as I say, is maybe in with a bit of a shout of a really solid finish here. I mean, he's currently running in P2. That's already an incredibly solid finish. Could be on to really challenge the race leader. Lots of people are going to go flying past the ghosted Lofty Pickle in the McLaren, as we see 10 Kart once again take the lead of the Grand Prix, and 2 of the cars that he has overtaken now, Lofty Pickle and Hayes in the Haas. He has pit stop advantage over, and Tolu, absolute nightmare for the Alpine, ends up with a 3-second time penalty. And really now, I keep pressing the wrong thing. By the way, a 10-second time penalty for JHR for speeding in the pit lane, not what the Mercedes driver would have wanted, and in fact retires in the pit lane. So our first retirement of the night is JHR in the Mercedes. 10 seconds. It's probably just too much to overcome. unless it was in an intentional speeding in the pit lane because he was going to retire anyway. But looking at some of these penalties, obviously you've got Hayes there with the 9 seconds, but Hayes also still needs to pit, so we're not going to worry about that too much. But then basically everybody else has 3 seconds behind, so 10 Kart should win the race, although almost gets pushed out wide. Lots of battling going on in front, and it's kind of involving Hayes in the Haas, who he's yet to make a pit stop, but, you know, has every right to try and defend his position on the circuit until he makes that pit stop, although you would think he's going to make it pretty soon. We just saw it happen. A 3-second time penalty for Hayes for drifting the car ever so slightly wide on a reasonably straight portion of the racetrack. So disappointing, but maybe, you know, with the DRS open, you can put in some fast lap times, although seems to be really struggling. Tolu goes flying past down the main straight. Hayes, it was an ambitious defense, let's just say, on the inside of turn 1, but at least manages to prevent the car from totally spinning out. But yeah, maybe the front of the race is not going to be that exciting now for the rest of it, because as long as 10 Kart runs a clean race, you would think he's got the win wrapped up. I know that Igor and Baha now are within DRS range, so they're going to try and make that advantage count, but you wouldn't think that really 10 Kart is going to fall back too far. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres, which is not much, but it's worth something. Tier 2 is not getting school killered tonight, it looks like. P17 currently for the Williams. No time penalties though, so be set to gain a couple of positions. Let's go back to having a look at some of these position changes. The only one to not really concern yourself with so far is Hayes, because Hayes still needs to make a pit, and there you go. Finally, I think the last of the drivers to pit now tonight brings the Haas into the pit lane, and will be fitting the medium tyres, so you will see that position change come down and down and down for Hayes now. But a 6 position gain so far from Tolu. It does feel like Tolu has maybe run the best race so far. We see Igor make a push for the race lead, at least out on track, but with that time penalty, of course, he's going to find it pretty difficult to finish ahead of his teammate in the final standings. But maybe, you know, if the Ferraris can work together, it could still be a 1-2, couldn't it? What's the time penalty looking like for Igor? It's only 3 seconds. There is 9 seconds for Shelby behind, so he's not really in the running. Baha is obviously close. 10 Kart has actually drifted out of DRS range there to Igor. Did have the rear wing open for the straight though, but was just losing ground slightly, and you wonder whether it's intentionally losing ground slightly. I guess that remains to be seen. We don't need to look at stops. I don't know why I'm looking at that. If 10 Kart can hold up Baha, then he might be able to guarantee that Ferrari 1-2, but he also potentially then runs the risk of not winning the Grand Prix, which he probably deserves to do. Been a very consistent night of racing, really, from 10 Kart. You see Tolu is now 1.3, 1.4. The gap is climbing in terms of how many seconds or how much time he is down to the cars in front. We saw Baha and Tolu having a little battle though going around turn 1. It is the Alpine who comes out on top for now and just about manages to retain... No, excuse me. No, it's not. Baha and Shelby were battling, and it's the V-Carb who manages to retain the on-track advantage. But Tolu will enjoy that. If they keep that battling up, it brings Tolu back into the fight. I think at the moment the only person that Tolu is really gaining on by the end of the race is Shelby, who has a 9-second penalty in the V-carb. Look at the Ferrari boys, though. You can see the timing chart over on the left there. 10 car is closing in on his teammate to within half a second now, and pulling out a pretty big advantage on Shelby behind. So really, these two Ferraris just need to work together. Igor just needs to keep it between the white lines a little bit longer, and we should end up with our first 1-2 of the season, featuring the historic team from Maranello, Ferrari 1-2. I see Shelby closing, but, you know, that time penalty is going to matter. But Shelby is definitely, you know, in the battle now, and is maybe bringing Baja along with him. So nothing is set in stone yet, really. We don't know. Plus, these time penalties are just going to make things so difficult to determine in the end of the race. Let's turn it on gap to leader, see if we can make sense of any of this. LXN definitely moves down. I mean, Sean's losing 2 positions currently as well. Pretty devastating night for the man currently in second and closest to challenging Lofty Pickle in the championship. But Pickle, by the way, it seems like is maybe still suffering with a disconnect, and he's basically out of this race. So 2 bad evenings for the championship leader. Last time at the Mystery track, and tonight at the Circuit of the Americas. We're going to watch Arbon then. Nice and easy past the Red Bull on the main straight, just about manages to stay in front, and the Red Bull just about manages to keep his front wing away from the rear of the Mercedes. Pretty decent recovery overall by Arbon then, because I do remember that the first few laps, let's say, were not vintage from the Mercedes driver, who currently sits P3 in the championship and is gonna gain ground, I guess, on Lofty Pickle tonight. And we'll gain ground on Sean as well, so maybe might see the most benefit out of the current racing positions. Up near the top, we still have a bit of a 3-way race going on for who's going to actually finish on track in first position, but because of those time penalties, it's 10 car, followed by Igor, followed by Baja, really, and Shelby's not really in this fight. Will Shelby, though, be able... What's that gap looking like to Tolu? At this point, actually, Tolu's quite worried here, because if that gap is over 6 seconds, which it is now, then if the time penalties stay the way they are, Tolu actually doesn't gain any positions and finishes in 5th, which feels like he'll have been pretty hard done by after running a pretty good race. 10 car once again takes the lead of the Grand Prix on track. But again, I'm not really too sure how much that means. The real battles and where it's really spicy is around here with Verklempt and Arbon, who are currently engaged in a fight for P6, both with 3 seconds of time penalties to their name. Razor's going to gain ground in the Haas, if he can keep it between the lines. DJ, by the way, has really struggled in the race after a couple of fantastic opening laps. Is currently struggling in P11. And only really is guaranteed to gain on Sean, not guaranteed, with the way things currently are, to gain a position on LXN in front. So just really, I think, struggling maybe with the race trim or something, DJ, tonight. Arbon is absolutely flying through the S's and is right behind Tolu. He's got Verklempt for company behind. Arbon should get the move done here, though. Coming down the straight, Tolu, of course, is not going to have his rear wing open. Arbon immediately puts the battery into overtake mode. As much of a speed boost as is possible is Tolu's in hot lap to try and defend Arbon. draining everything out of that ERS system, does get the move done. And we look at the V-carb of Verklempt pulling alongside, gets the move done up the inside of Tolu. Tolu drops 2 positions there. It's been a rough few laps, you have to say, for Tolu, who ran a pretty good race. He's still running a good race, but there was a point, there was a point 5, 6, 10 laps ago, somewhere between them, where it looked like Tolu might be finishing P2, might have been on the podium, and I was having a really good night of it, but this doesn't look great now. He's actually going to lose a place to Razor also behind. How are we doing on position change then? Fastest lap, by the way, is currently with Arbon. It's a 1:33.9. Is anybody even been vaguely close to that? Not really. I mean, the closest after that is Shelby with a 1:34.2. So Arbon is probably going to bag himself an extra point no matter where he finishes for the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But what I really want to see, leave it on leader for a moment, is this little position change graphic here. Because look at that by Razor. It's a 5-place gain currently for Razor. Didn't quite manage to get into DRS range of Tolu in front, but you would think that he will do by the end of this lap if the cars in front do a little bit of battling, and it looks like they are doing at least a little bit of battling. So Razor's going to seriously benefit from that, and without a time penalty to his name, it could be a really solid finish for the Haas driver. Why are you not doing this for Sky? Because they won't pay me any money. Broke Boys give me £25,000 a race, so, you know, just got to follow the money. I mean, I will say this hasn't been the most exciting race. Like Zentar was mentioning before, that last week's race was actually pretty exciting, and I think it mostly was because we had a safety car. What was it? Maybe 5-6 laps from the end, and the cars were really bunched together for the final little session. But this one, it doesn't look like anyone. I mean, there's no walls to put the car in really around Texas, so don't imagine that we're going to see anything too crazy happen. I did miss it, by the way. It's happened at some point. We've got another DNF, so 2 cars not completed the race tonight. Hayes in the Haas, but didn't see any safety car or VSC or anything like that, so it's probably just a retirement in the pit lane for Hayes in the Haas. Like I say, Razor obviously now is in DRS range of Tolu, and if we go back to having a look at how these time penalties are working out, we see 3 seconds for Tolu, 3 seconds for Verklempt, 3 seconds for Arbon. So technically right now, Razor 8th on track, but will be finishing P5. Are you coming for a pint? Ask me about it later. 10 Kart, by the way, in the meantime, whilst I've been watching all of that happening, 10 Kart now has a 2-second lead on Shelby in P2, and obviously time penalty advantage. It's just been solid, hasn't it, from 10 Kart? He qualified on pole position, was maybe 2 or 3 tenths ahead of Lofty Pickle in P2 just with his qualifying lap, and he's just commanded the race. No problem, really, from the Ferrari. It's still, at the moment, it's still a Ferrari 1-2. We will watch a little bit, though, because Baja and Igor are on 3 seconds apiece. So Baja could spoil that party. Shelby will not be the one to spoil the Ferrari 1-2 party that might be upon us. Come the end of this race, we do have just 2.5 laps to go. Rear wing open for the kick Sauber, and nice move up the inside by Igor, but Shelby's going to try and take him again around the outside. There's another time penalty late on in the race, and it goes to Skullkiller Skullkiller didn't have a time penalty before then, so that'll be disappointing right near the end of the race. We look at the Ferrari, shoot up the inside, Igor forcing Shelby off the track, but definitely got ahead of him before the apex was finished. A little bit of wheel banging and a little bit of contact. Music to Tenkart's ears, although he doesn't really need to hear it because he's so far out in front with these time penalties at the moment. There's another 3-second time penalty for Igor, and that shakes things up enough that Baja is staring down the barrel of a second place finish. It will not be the fairy tale 1-2 finish for Ferrari that we were talking about, because unless Igor can pull off some kind of miraculous Houdini escape from the cars behind, come the end of the race, the timing chart will show that Baja is going to finish above Igor. Still some close battling going on as well from P5 down to P8, but as I say, Razor won't really mind. I don't think Razor is even going to push for an overtake. He's not going to catch the cars in front, but he's currently gaining 3 positions just based on time penalties. So really, all Razor needs to do is take it easy and stay behind these guys. But the guys in front are definitely racing for position, and we can see that with Arbon not having too much ERS remaining, but pulling away down the straight. Rear wing is open for the V car, but just not enough time to close the gap to the Mercedes in front. Well, this will be a tense finish, you would think, between these three. Moment of silence for Pickle. Yeah, it's been pretty awful, hasn't it, for Lofty Pickle? I can go back, but I think even if he reconnected now, it wouldn't even be worth it, would it? So something terrible has happened to the championship leader tonight. Baja still looks close enough, man, to finish P2. We are on the final lap now of the Grand Prix, and I don't think we're going to bother watching the race leaders because Tenkart is definitely going to be crowned the victor here at Texas. Look at Arbon send the car so wide there. He drifted out in the Mercedes, but does at least manage to keep the inside line going into turn 2. And now as we go through the S's, we see Verklempt in the V-carb closing in. Has to back off a little bit. Doesn't want to go flying into the back of that Mercedes, as we see Lofty Pickle get disqualified from the race for failing to switch tyre compounds. So there it is, confirmation that terrible things have happened to the championship leader tonight. Tolu, Razor, LXN is now also in this battle as well. Arbon does not have a rear wing to open, and Verklempt takes P5 on track going into Sector 3 and the final Sector 3 of tonight's race. Arbon lost 2 positions there, unfortunately, with the cars behind. Justice for Pickle. It's not going to happen, not with the FIA in charge. Arbon coming very close to the back of the Alpine as they swing it round that left-hander to start this final section of corners in the final sector of the lap. It looks like Arbon is going to be, it's not actually going to be P7, is it? It's going to be P8. Is he going to have enough space to try and make a move as we approach the end of the Grand Prix? Tenkart is the winner and Baja finishes P2. There's no 1-2 finish for the Ferrari boys. There it is, P7 for Arbon. And we watch the overtakes, it's plural, happen going down the main straight. So a bit of a disaster final lap there for the Mercedes. Just didn't have enough left in the tank to really defend against the guys in front. But the time penalties are now sorting themselves out. So looking at it, let's go to position change. If I can find it. Razor, look at that. Finishes P4 just because he kept the car on the track. I think that's a pretty incredible drive, especially if that's a 9 position gain. That means he started P13 on the grid. Great race from Razor. Driver of the day goes to Tolu. And I think maybe earlier on in the race, I might have considered that Tolu was going to be our driver of the day, but I think Razor just managed the strategy and managed the efficiency of his race so well that Razor was probably the most impressive man on the circuit. Tenkart, though, I just didn't even bother to watch him win the race because he absolutely ran away with it. Tenkart is the race winner. P1 in qualifying. by a good chunk, really. Three tenths or whatever it was. You know, basically an hour in F1. So a solid qualifying lap, a solid race. Didn't quite lead it from start to finish, but never looked in too much danger. Unfortunate for his teammate Igor, though, who would have been hoping for that Ferrari 1-2 finish and ends up having to settle for P3 on the podium with the second spot taken by, I'm sure, a very ecstatic Baja in the Kick Sauber with a good result for them. Yeah, not sure what's happened to Pickle. We don't even have an update coming through via the Discord yet, but that is the end of tonight's race. Maybe not quite as exciting, I appreciate, as last time out for the mystery round, but can anything truly be exciting? As exciting as the mystery round? But 10 car is in P what even in the championship? Good question. P4, so will have made some massive gains. Definitely going to overtake Arbon and shoot up into P3, and will have made massive gains on Sean in front. And basically everybody will have gained on Lofty Pickle, who was disqualified for failing to swap tyre compounds during the race. And obviously, it seems like, unfortunately, suffering with a disconnect. So maybe the Tier 2 Championship is not yet all that tied up. That is the end of round 7. Thanks everybody for joining us. Next week, 11th of April, round 8 will be at Monza, the Temple of Speed, and maybe the fastest track on the entire F1 calendar. So if you want to catch that one, I'm saying 11th of April and I'm lying. It's going to be the 9th of April for Tier 2. I'll be racing on the 11th of April at Monza, though, and I'll be racing on the 4th of April in just 2 days' time around the Circuit of the Americas in Tier 5. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time when maybe we will see even more drama around the top of the standings in this Tier 2 Championship. Good night.